This is Eyewitness News Up Close with Diana Williams.
Let me be clear. We are not backing down.
John Liu, defiant and determined and dismissing as a political distraction a federal investigation into his campaign's former fundraisers. Mr. Liu, New York City's comptroller, now running hard for the city's mayor and promising to bridge the New York gap, the economic divide that he says exists. But can he overcome the scandal? And same-sex marriages facing its biggest and most important test yet this upcoming week. The U.S. Supreme Court will hear arguments on two cases that could determine whether gay and lesbian couples will be allowed to marry and be recognized by the federal government. Could this be the pivotal battleground for same-sex marriage? And good morning, everyone, and welcome to Up Close. I'm Bill Ritter, in for Diana Williams. New York City Comptroller John Liu never concealed his ambition to become mayor of New York. Some may say he's been campaigning for the job for the last 4 years, but his road to City Hall hit a roadblock when federal investigators arrested one of his campaign fundraisers and a staffer as well over illegal contributions, at least alleged illegal contributions. Mr. Liu has not been charged with any wrongdoing, and now he's telling the feds, put up or shut up. Democratic candidate for mayor John Liu is our guest this morning on Up Close. Mr. Liu, thanks for joining us.
I don't mind being defiant, but I prefer energized and enthusiastic about this incredible opportunity to give back to a city that gave me and my family tremendous opportunities.
Well, you can be both, right? Because you're clearly energized running for mayor, but
yes,
you're also defiant about this federal investigation.
Absolutely. This is an investigation that, I found out maybe a little more than a year ago. It seems that it's been going on for almost 4 years now. They have subpoenaed millions of documents, reviewed them, interrogated thousands of my supporters and contributors, and at this point, trying to get me with all sorts of innuendos and insinuations. I think it's time, as you said, to put up or shut up, because we have an election to win and we have a city to change.
Well, let's start with this then. We have lots of issues to talk about in the next few minutes, and I'm glad you're here and we welcome your presence. But let's talk about this. Your former campaign fundraiser, Oliver Pan, is in fact criminally charged with the illegal donation scheme. He's accused of taking donations above the legal limit and then allegedly creating fake donors to break up the donations, so-called straw donors. It appeared, according to the allegations, that dishwashers in Chinatown were donating up to $800 apiece to your campaign. That's a real charge.
Well, listen, this is again, I get all my news from the newspapers here. I don't have any first-hand or direct knowledge about what's going on.
But this was your fundraiser, right?
Yeah, he's one of a couple hundred people that threw a fundraiser for me. In fact, at this one event, he raised about $13,000 in a period that I raised $1 million, Bill. And so what I understand about this particular a scheme, I guess, is that there was an undercover agent who actually, over a period of months, tried to get him to go along with the scheme, and he repeatedly said, no, you can't do that. And then for some reason, I don't know what got into his mind, he agreed to go along with it. And then the both of them deceived my campaign folks about the scheme, and then we went ahead with the fundraiser. The bottom line is that he's coming up to trial, and I hope the best for him, but I guess at some point he did make a wrong decision. And then they tried to throw one of my staff members into the whole mix, charging her with conspiracy. I think she's going to be fun because I truly believe in her. Jenny Ho, my former treasurer. And the point of this is that, look, they can keep looking at whatever they want to about my fundraising. I'm very proud of the way I've conducted my fundraising in all the years I ran for office, and certainly now, because I have set higher bars of ethics than anybody else. I don't accept contributions from people who do business with the city. I don't, unlike all my predecessors in the comptroller's office and controllers around the country, I don't accept campaign contributions from people on Wall Street or even those who are looking to do business with our pension funds, because we all have seen what problems that could cause.
We got a state comptroller in trouble with that.
Well, so therefore, I've set very high ethical bars for my fundraising. And if they want to keep looking, that's fine. But at some point, enough is enough. It's been years now, and we are now just months away from an election that I believe the people of New York City should decide.
Has it hurt you, and has it called into question your trust, whether or not you feel that it should or not? Has it done that politically?
Obviously, no one wishes this upon themselves or anybody else. The fact of the matter is I've continued to weather the storm. I've stayed focused on my job as comptroller, identifying billions of dollars of waste and saving taxpayers' money, looking out for our economic prospects, and figuring out what policies need to change in terms of our tax system, in terms of our fiscal priorities, so that we can foster in a period of economic growth that will be beneficial to everybody, all along while while preparing for this incredible opportunity to run for mayor. I mean, I'm much further along than I have ever imagined growing up here in New York City as an immigrant kid, coming from Taiwan, where my parents, when they first got here, struggled immensely. And now I'm sitting with you on Channel 7 talking about running for mayor of New York City. Life is incredible, and I'm going to make the best of it and do as much as I can for this city that I love.
And everyone has a good backstory, interesting backstory. Yours is certainly interesting. You brought up your parents. You mentioned, and you brought this up
Yes.
when you launched your campaign last week. You talked about your mother working in a sweatshop.
That's right.
And that story, if you believe the newspapers, had been debunked. Your mother says she never worked in a sweatshop. She was doing it in your home.
The Daily News claimed that they debunked it. Look, I know exactly what happened.
Well, your mother said she never worked in a sweatshop.
No, according to the Daily News claimed that they heard my mother said that. My mother was very clear. They had one interview with her where, you know, I think in all honesty, what I did wrong there was I was not sensitive to her feelings about the struggles that she went through, and I should have talked to her about it in advance. I did not. In fact, I set up an interview with the Daily News reporter. I left them to their devices. I didn't even stick around for that interview. And somewhere in the ensuing 45 minutes, something went obviously pretty wrong in terms of, at least at best, a miscommunication.
The lesson here is always listen to your mother and think about your mom first, right?
And I always do.
Yeah.
Because I will never forget the incredible struggles that she went through, trying to bring up me and my brothers, making sure that we were never cold or hungry or without a roof over our heads. And it is those struggles that I will never forget. And so I'm not going to let the Daily News or anybody take that away from my life and from a part of my family's history that I'm damn proud of. And while, you know, my mom may not have wanted to talk about that, and I get that now, I'm very proud of it.
Okay. Tell me why you want to be mayor. You just laid out a pretty good case of how exciting it is for someone with your background to come and rise up to run for mayor. But why do you want to be mayor of this city?
I think this city has a huge amount of untapped potential. Over the past 3 years and change that I've had the privilege of serving as city controller, I've been able to look into every city agency, understand what government has been doing well, what it can do more of, and what clearly needs changing.
What needs changing?
We need to change the way we focus on economic growth here. The fact is the economic development policy for the past decade has been about making the rich filthy rich. That's what's happened. It has grown the economic divide so much so that the middle class is evaporating before our very eyes.
So how do you get jobs and get those middle class and poor people to become successful as well?
I've got some very specific proposals.
Like what?
Like, for example, insurance companies in the city. They don't have to pay business tax. They're exempt from the general corporation tax, and they're not creating jobs. They're just enhancing their bottom line with that money. What I propose is having, having the insurance companies pay their fair share, and instead give the tax breaks to the hundreds of thousands of small business owners. If we're able to put several $1,000s in the pockets of some of these entrepreneurs, if even a fraction of the small business owners wind up in reinvesting that money into their business and hiring an additional person, that is instantaneously creating tens of thousands of jobs.
Tax the corporations that are getting tax breaks right now.
Well, have them pay their fair share and give the breaks to the small business owners that everybody, including Mayor Bloomberg, says are the backbone of our economy.
Would you raise taxes on New Yorkers?
I would raise taxes on the top 1% of New York City filers. Because right now, we've got, believe it or not, a flat income tax. No matter how much money you make, you pay pretty much the same rate of tax. What I've proposed is an income tax reform that is a progressive rate of taxes where the less you make, the less you pay, but the more you make, the more you pay. It would be an increase on those making over $500,000 and a decrease for everybody else. And it would still yield a surplus in the revenue for us.
But that's not creating jobs, is it, for the people who are
creating
middle class
jobs
and poor to rise up and become as successful as the people you want to tax?
Creating jobs is about putting the tax breaks where the jobs really will get created. This tax reform policy has to do with growing our overall economy, putting more disposable income in the hands of the middle class, in the hands of the working poor, because these are the people who generally spend that additional disposable income right back in our city, as opposed to the others who would spend it in Bermuda.
Okay, so the bottom line is you would raise taxes on people making more than $500,000 a year who have been hit very hard under the fiscal cliff
and cut taxes for everybody else, because I believe New York City is not a commodity. You can't compare New York City to any other city. People are just not going to leave just because we ask them to pay a little bit more. People are proud to be in New York, and they want to contribute to our success.
Let me get your opinion about a big issue that we saw last week. The City Council Speaker, Christine Quinn, who's running against you in the Democratic primary for mayor, proposed instituting an inspector general for the NYPD. Mayor Bloomberg very much against it. What is your position on it?
I'm not sure what good that would do. It's creating another position. I've said that, you know, maybe it doesn't hurt, but I don't think it achieves its purposes. The fact is, both of these people, whether it be the commissioner or the inspector general, they're still answering to the mayor. If I were mayor, I would just set the tone for the police department and guard it vigorously and not have to rely on yet another person to police the police.
Exactly. So you're agreeing with the mayor. One of the few times I believe you're going to agree with the mayor on this, right?
Bill, no, look, I agree with Mayor Bloomberg a lot more than the news media would let us have. But I have serious disagreements, and one serious disagreement is the fact that this direction of the city has gone out of control in recent years, especially over the last 4 years where, you know, he never should have been mayor in the first place.
Because of the term limit extension.
Because the term limits, the will of the people as expressed by 2 referendums in the 1990s should never have been just subverted in the way that it was by Mayor Bloomberg.
Your prediction of this race, is it's going to be a runoff, you think? You're hoping to be in it, obviously. Who do you think?
I'm hoping that I'll win without a runoff, but in a field of 4, my experience is that there will be a runoff, because you may recall that when I was running in 2009 for city controller, it was a hard-fought race. I almost got the 40%. I got up to 38.3%, but we did have a runoff.
John Liu, good luck to you. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again.
All right, let's do this again next week.
All right, John, thank you very much. When we come back, the nation's highest court may have the final say on same-sex marriage. We're going to take a closer look at 2 major cases going before the High Court this week. Stay with us. We'll be right back.